In this tutorial, we're going to take a quick look at drawing on our textures. So right now we have a texture which is a diffuse texture that is applied to this object, and I'm going to draw on it just a little bit using the Paint on Diffuse. And all we have to do is choose a brush or anything that we want, choose a color that we might want. I actually am in some sort of crazy brush right now, so I'll go to this star brush, and you can see that we can actually draw directly on that pattern. Now it may seem to go a little bit slow at first, and the reason why is because it's also having to do the 3D at the same time. So it's often better for you to go directly to the background layer by double clicking on the pattern, which is the one that you want to edit. So that right now that's the diffuse pattern, and editing it here. Notice how these are distorted, because when I drew them I was actually in 3D perspective, and it actually distorts them on the object. So here you'll notice that it's probably better for you to draw on the actual object that you want. That way we'll get these stars pointing the right way that we want. I'm going to go ahead and fill that with maybe I'll fill it with the white, and then I'll draw these new stars. So if I close that pattern and go back, you'll see we have indeed edited that 3D texture. So once again, we'd go to the background, fill our object with whatever color that we want, and then draw on it however we might want to as well. Now we can close that layer, and you'll see it actually in 3D perspective here. Now that's pretty easy, but it has a lot of implications on what you can do, because there are lots of different ways to implement materials here in Photoshop, and that's going to be something that we have to explore as we go forward. But I want to point out one last thing that we might want to see, and that is some quality issues. So I'm going to go ahead and put a black layer underneath, because what you'll see here is an anti-aliased edge. If you look carefully at this edge, I'm saying actually un-anti-aliased edge, you'll see it doesn't look very smooth. So the reason that we were in the interactive mode is because that's the painting mode, and it gives us the quickest 3D view. But if we want to go and see what it might look like a little bit better, I can go to the ray traced draft mode, and you'll see it renders these boxes on top, and slowly but surely it's actually improving the view so that I get a better quality three-dimensional view. And now it's doing the final pass. So it takes a little bit of time, obviously. And this kind of just shows that you really don't want to be using Photoshop for high-res three-dimensional graphics use this way, because this will take forever and you'll be waiting all the time. But you'll notice that the edges look much better than they did before. So I'm not going to go to the ray trace final, because that will take even longer. But if I go back to the interactive painting, you'll see that I get back to the un-anti-aliased edges, but the 3D will respond much faster in Photoshop. So that's just something to be aware of. Now we can mess with other render settings if we want to try and get a little bit more here. Like I kind of pointed out before, you can see different things here, but we can also render for final output and change different settings for final outputs, which are kind of cool, that relate to the render settings as well, kind of like what we had there. Anyway, I'm going to go on to the next tutorial, so I suggest you do the same.